The local authority. The local authority only have to show that avoiding the asset be used to pay for care was an operative purpose and not that it was the main operative purpose. If a client wants to put their home into a trust to attempt to avoid it being used to pay for their care, they must acknowledge that the trust is only a discouragement and will not guarantee to protect the asset in their lifetime. Proper planning, if it can be clearly demonstrated that at the time of the transfer the client had no reason to suspect they were going to require residential care and they had good reasons for setting up the trust. Deliberately depriving yourself of an asset to avoid a reasonably foreseeable creditor is a criminal offence and any transfer would be ignored. So a word of warning, if the client was already frail, receiving attention at home and their other reasons were purely to avoid probate, the local authority would likely count the asset as theirs under the notional capital rules and they would have to pay for their care however they raised the funds. The reality is most people aren't looking to not pay for their care. What they want is not to be forced to pay for it in a way that isn't appropriate for them. They want their children to have the power to decide how to deal with paying for their care costs. A home can generate a significant amount of income if the trustees of the trust have the time to go in, perhaps renovate it a little bit, rent it out. They may decide that they can raise enough capital to pay for care anyway, or they may decide that they want to sell it and talk to an investment advisor to invest in a suitable product to give enough money to pay for care as well. Using the asset allocation trust gives you options rather than being forced to just have a charge put over it and decrease the value of the asset. So some valid reasons for setting up a trust. Disinheriting a wayward child. There is no better way of disinheriting someone than placing the assets into an asset allocation trust, because after 6 years there is no claim on the estate. Giving beneficiaries quicker access to assets. Assets in the trust are available immediately without a grant of probate. It gives estate planning protection on both deaths rather than just the first death, as in a will trust. It can also provide protection for vulnerable beneficiaries, such as those liable to gambling, drink or drugs, or in unstable relationships. It can reduce the stress of probate. The major assets are already in trust, there's no need to worry about going through all of the rigmarole with probate. Available immediately, so if IHT is due, you can raise funds from the assets in trust to pay the inheritance tax rather than having to take out a bridging loan. It's the most effective tool if you wish to distribute the estate unevenly. You may decide that one of the children is to get 80% and the other child is to get 20%, and they will understand. Or they may not understand. But if you've used an asset allocation trust, then the requirement to make a reasonable financial provision for children, to make a claim under the Inheritance Provision for Family and Dependents Act, goes away because 6 years have passed, they cannot claim against it.